Shalom, everyone. My name is Tina. Welcome to Hebraic Awakening, and we are going to discuss Hebraic courting. I've already done a couple of videos prior to this, so I'll leave the links below if this is your first time following me. Today, we are going to talk about red flags and yellow flags. Okay, now we always concentrate on red flags, but we never really talk about those yellow flags, things that make you pause and caution, okay, and take a look at this individual. And we're going to talk about the difference between red flags and yellow flags when you are dating and when you are courting. So a little bit of background. I want us to put to the side, okay, everything that we understand about our Hebraic culture for now. And the reason why I say that, like I said in my previous videos, is because we get caught up into men that look the part, they talk the part, but their behaviors, their characters, their past relationships, their unsolved trauma, we totally throw out the window because we hear their faith. They can speak the language, their faith language. They can speak a little Hebrew. They wear their tzitzits. They got the Hebrew garments on. They act pious. And all the time, they do not have the simple character traits of a man, and not even a godly or Yah-fearing man, but a man. And we overlook that because we ourselves are being religious. We're looking at religious traits. That's exactly what we're looking at. We have turned our walk, our faith walk, into a religious walk, and it is not supposed to be like that. It is a relationship between you and the Most High. And for us women, we can begin to see the brokenness in our own selves by the type of men that we choose. So we must address these issues, these everyday carnal issues, if you will, that we overlook because we want to be so super spiritual, or as I said, religious. All right, so I was single for about 15 years with 5 children before I met my husband. I've been married for about 15 years. So I have enough experience on both sides of the spectrum to be able to speak to both single mothers and women, with children, and single women, because I have been through every phase of it all. And I want us to stop being so super religious when it comes to choosing our mates, because we're choosing based on trauma. Because that's just the bottom line. We're so full of trauma, unresolved trauma, and then we pick mates that is full of unresolved trauma. And I know in this life, nobody is perfect. We are all striving. We are all on a journey. But wherever you are, that's the type of person you're going to pick. So if you're broken like I was, that's the type of people I was picking. I was picking broken men because I was broken. So as you are healing, as you are walking upright before the Most High, and you're not taking the Bible and just covering all of your trauma up with it, and not allowing the Most High to get into the chambers of your heart and deal with that trauma, your poor decision making, your poor relationship skills, if you do not allow him to really come in there and talk to you about those intimate things, you are not going to be able to pick or choose the right mate when he comes along. You have a right to choose. Okay, you have a right to choose your mate. All right, so we're going to talk about red flags and yellow flags, and we're going to start off. Why do we ignore red flags? Because I feel like red flags are obvious, but I guess when we are traumatized, we ignore them totally. So we're going to talk about, why do we ignore red flags? We're going to start off with the truth hurts. So I have my notebook. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. Truth hurts. Truth requires change in your bad habits and your bad thinking. So truth always hurts, and when we are presented with the truth, for some reason we do not want to deal with it. Denial. We want to avoid conflict. Conflict causes too much pain. So you think you have found someone that's decent, and then when you see the red flag, you avoid it or you deny it because you don't want to have any conflict. It hurts too bad to try to give this up. He had all the other three qualities, but the other three qualities is treacherous, and you don't want to give that up. You want to keep it, right? Because we're going to get to the next one. Why do you want to keep it? Because relationships, we all have been told, is hard work, which it is. Relationships is hard work, okay? But this has been mistranslated to mean relationships are just hard, so you have to endure. This is coming from a place of broken relationships, which happened during slavery. So when our men were ripped from us, it was just hard. You just had to get through it. You just had to, endure. And yes, again, relationships are hard, but there's a mistranslation. It's hard work to continue to walk in that covenant and to continue to grow, because in growing you are being pruned, okay? And when you are being pruned, when your heart is being circumcised, so to speak, it hurts, okay? Pruning hurts. Being circumcised hurts. So that's why the relationship is hard, because our flesh is in the way and it needs to be circumcised. We are growing and we are producing fruit, and sometimes we need to be pruned so that we can grow some more. So inside of these relationships, it causes for you to grow, for you to be humble, for you to be meek, for you to learn how to submit, and that hurts your flesh. That's why it's hard. Not just because relationships is just hard, girl. Just stick with him, because all relationships hard, honey. You ain't gonna find nobody, right? Just stick with that. No. Relationships are hard because growing is just hard for the both of you. And so you're going to endure that because you have a covenant and a promise that you have made to each other and to the Most High, and you want to endure it, but not at crazy prices, okay? Not what we do. We have a misunderstanding of how to endure a relationship, to put in that work. That work is hard. Okay, like me, you want to see the good in people. This is why you avoid conflict, because you want to see the good in people. So you just want to take the little 2 qualities that he have and the rest of the 10 qualities that's terrible. You want to act like you don't see it, or you can fix it, and you Mrs. do-gooder, and you just can pour your love and nurturing into everybody, and you cannot. That's not your job, to pour your love and nurture into everybody. I had to learn that. You have an assignment to specific people. You don't have an assignment to all people. You are not the Most High. You are to be a light and you are to love, but you have a specific assignment to nurture and to help specific people. And you need to find out what your gift and calling is so that you can stay in your lane. But most of us want to help and nurture any and everybody, and you wear yourself out, and it's not effective because he didn't tell you to do that. And that's another mistranslation of how we are supposed to have relationships with one another. We are not supposed to pour our love and intimacy into everybody. Think about that. That's a little nasty. Okay, you being intimate and nurturing and coochie cooing with everybody, that's a little nasty, right? So you need to find out from the Most High who you are supposed to nurture, who you are supposed to be in a covenant relationship with, and that's even with your women friends, who you're supposed to be around. right? So it's a lot of growing up that we have to do, and it's a lot of trauma that we have to work through and be healed from, because we are ignoring red flags that really mean to stop. Now, I'm going to come from, just a secular perspective right quick, okay? So in the corporate world, a red flag is things that are going wrong due to ineffective leadership. So you are going to choose a mate and you're going to ignore his ineffective leadership because he's supposed to be the head. But you ignoring all of the red flags that's supposed to make him a great leader. And that is the secular version of a red flag. When you spot a red flag, it means simply to stop, like a stop sign. You need to stop and you need to take inventory, because 9 times out of 10, that person is not ready for a relationship. In sports, a red flag is thrown because of a foul. Somebody did something, hit somebody or did something that was against the rules. They could hurt somebody. You know how when the football and the basketball players, and they get mad and they hit, you could really hurt somebody, okay? When conditions are dangerous, a flag is waved to stop before you go beyond a certain point. Okay, so they are waving a flag like in the race cars. Don't go beyond a certain point. So the secular world understands red flags. But when it comes to us walking in Torah and walking upright before the Most High, we somehow lose common sense and don't understand to stop. This is a red flag. Okay, so let's get into red flags, because we got to stop this, and we got to stop covering up with our Hebraic faith or our faith. If you are a Christian watching this, you got to stop covering that up. You're being silly. How in the world is the divorce rate just as high as the secular world's rate? But you're supposed to have the truth. You're supposed to have that Bible. Everybody lying then, because the Most High is going to give you specific instructions on how to have a covenant relationship between you and that person. You have your own personal Torah that he is going to instruct you to walk out in that particular covenantal relationship. We have the 10 commands that we follow. Okay, that's not that hard. But inside your covenantal relationship, it's going to look a little different than the next person's, because of your life experiences, because of the trauma, because of the generational curses that you have to work through, because of education and all of those things. So your covenantal relationship is going to look a little different. And most of us, especially in this Hebraic faith, is walking around looking like cultish women, because we all want to be the Stepford wives, and we all want to look and speak the same, dress the same, and talk the same. We're not Stepford wives, okay? We have just brought a whole bunch of other crap into this Hebraic walk, and we don't understand our culture. We don't understand our language, as I always say, and it leads to this. But we got to use our common sense and stop throwing that away, because we have our Hebraic faith. So let's get to red flag number 1. Number 1 is lack of communication. Now, I'm a little older. I'll be 49 in April. Now, back in the day, I had a cell phone when I was grown with kids. I forgot when I had a cell phone, and I didn't really keep one because I couldn't afford it, right? We still had landlines and payphones, okay? But now I see that people text. You text when you talking to a man and y'all talk through text. That's not going to work. Texting is great. Texting is great. And I know I'm a little older for people that are younger. Texting is great. But you're going to have to get on that phone and communicate, okay? They're going to have to talk to you. You can only text so much. And even if you do the voice thing, it's not really intimate. It's not really getting to know you on an intimate level. Energy, you know, uh, verbal conversation is very intimate. It is energy, exchanging energy, okay? And I'm trying not to get real deep, but you need to have that person to person verbal energy when you are talking, so your wisdom and your discernment can kick in when that person is talking. You know, you can try to discern on the text, but text and words are so hard to read, unless you got a lot of emojis going on. And that's why I use a lot of emojis in my text, because you can't really understand my tone. The tone of the text might be taken, out of context. So please learn to communicate verbally in person. And if that person does not like to communicate, that is a red flag. Stop, because the relationship is not going to work. You are always going to be complaining about communication. Now, is that a deal breaker? I don't think this particular red flag is a 100% deal breaker, because sometimes a person can learn how to communicate, especially if they come from a family that does not, but they want to learn, right? So I think that the lack of communication is a red flag, but I know that it can be corrected with work if that person wants to. Now, if they do not want to communicate and that's just not their thing, and that's not what they saw their family members do, then honey, you need to run, because that person is just not going to be a good fit in a serious, healthy, covenantal relationship. That person is just not, it's just not going to cut it. All right, their words don't match their actions. Okay, now I know we got a lot of sisters in the faith that all they want to know is, do they study Torah? Do they understand the feast? But none of their words match their action. They cannot keep their word to save their little soul, as we say. As the old people say. You can't keep your word to save your soul. And that's, manhood 101. Your word is your bond, okay? You stand on what you say. And if you can't, you need to communicate that to the person. If you can't do what it is that you said you were going to do. We need for men to be able to keep their word. And if you can't, don't make that oath, right? Without getting biblical, don't make that oath. Don't make that vow. Don't make that promise if you can't keep it. But a lot of young men are not taught. So if you have one of those, even the older men, even the older men, these older men's out here, I don't know what's wrong with them. I do know what's wrong with them, but it got to stop. If that particular man cannot keep his word, you are going to be frustrated. I'm telling you, you're going to be frustrated. And that is a red flag. And that means that he does not know how to have a healthy relationship where he is going to be responsible. And that leads me into another red flag. They don't take accountability. They're inconsistent. Everything is everybody else's fault. So when you're talking and you're courting and they got something bad to say about every relationship they ever had, no, it's them. No, it's them. And they need some serious help. And this is where I'm going to talk about me. Before I met my husband, the Most High had took me on a journey where he was ripping everything and everyone away from me. Okay, and I was back at square one with my godmother and my children staying in her 1-bedroom apartment. And I was like, how did I get back here? I remember meeting her and I was homeless, pregnant. I had Dominique, he was 2, and I was pregnant with my daughter, Angelique, and I was homeless. And she took me in to help me. And, like 12 years later, 13 years later, I'm back at her house sitting looking crazy because I was not learning. And you know what the Most High told me? After he had ripped everything, all the relationships, my friends, he had ripped everything and just made this whirlwind where I had to sit and be by myself. And you know what he said to me? You play the victim. You play the victim. It's everybody's fault in every relationship you have ever had. And you do not take accountability or responsibility for your part in the relationship. That's what he told me. And he said, yes, they have done things that are wrong to you. But your poor decisions in life had you to be in those relationships. And he was talking about men and women. And I'm not talking about, bisexuality. I'm talking about just my relationships in general, even my relationships with my parents. Like, he was just chastising me for always playing the victim. It can't be everybody else's fault, because you know who the common denominator in all of the mess? You the common denominator. You done had 55,000 bad relationships, and you are the common denominator. That means something wrong with you and how you view yourself. And what you do is go pick people that's just like you. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because you think you think you the victim. You think you the one that just does good, and you just trying to do what's right, but not in the most high's eyesight. You gotta learn how to have relationships, first with yourself, first with him, and first with yourself, and then with others. You gotta love him, love yourself, so you can love others. And most of us don't know how to do that. Self-care, most of us Black women, we act like that don't fit us, because I'm in survival mode. And I put up a post this week that talked about, if you are always in survival mode as a woman, you are in your masculine energy all day. I know I was. And I know you can't help it because you're in survival mode. But then you got to ask yourself this question. Why are you in survival mode all the time? What decisions have you made in life to put yourself in survival mode? Or even if it wasn't your fault, after so many years, you should not be operating in survival mode. There are skills and there is healing that should have happened to where you are not always in survival mode. And this is how the Most High had to talk to me. So if your partner who you trying to court for marriage, or even trying to date, and that's what they're doing and saying, run. Because what the Most High is trying to get you to understand is to look at yourself. Look at yourself. Our relationships are a reflection of us. And if we can't see the red flags, that means we can't see the red flags in us. All right. Openly disrespect others. Now, this is going to fall into the category of abuse, because once you start off with seeing that person just disrespect others and is just rude to everybody at all times, anywhere, they got abusive tendencies. They're going to be controlling, disrespectful, they're going to alienate you, they're going to emotionally abuse you, and they're going to physically abuse you. So when you see blatant just disrespect, I'm talking about all the time. That's just their personality. They just disrespect everybody. Because I asked one person who finally came to me and said, this person spit on me and they put their hands on me. And I said, so when did you see him get angry? Did you ever see him get angry? Yeah, he got angry all the time with other people. Well, baby, he gonna get angry with you. That's just the way it is. We put on our little impersonators when we first meet, but come on now. I think after about that 4th or 5th date, they're going to start, kind of, putting their guard down slowly and slowly. The more you date, and you're going to see the real them. And then they're going to start disrespecting you. And that's when the abuse starts. So all of that is open to me, even though, I clearly couldn't see the red flags in my life. I clearly couldn't see them. But now that I'm working toward healing and I'm healed in certain areas and I'm growing and the Most High is pruning me. It's like, child, that's a red flag. So we gotta stop ignoring these things. But that means you have to be healed, and that means you have to deal with the ugly truth of the red flags. All right, so let's dive into yellow flags, okay? And these flags are not character flaws, but behaviors and habits that are not a deal breaker, but should be noticed so that you can see if you can tolerate that behavior. These will cause minor conflicts. So I think that we need to learn how to look for yellow flags, and that means caution. That means, okay, let me put this down on my list to see if I can tolerate it, because we all like different attitudes and personalities. So you're going to have to see if you can live with this particular flaw, because red flags mean no, they need to go work on themselves and get counseling and heal and come back later. Yellow flags mean this may be, a character flaw, behavior flaw, a habit that they can break or correct, or they may not can correct this particular trait. It's something that you may just have to live with, and can you live with it? All right, so they don't have no long-term relationship. So when you meet them, they've never had a long-term relationship, and I don't know if that's not a deal breaker, but is that a really bad yellow flag? I think because I'm speaking to 40 and over, yeah, because most of us, have lived life. As they say, you've been around the block a few times, child. And so you should have had at least one long-term relationship by the time you're 40 and over. Or maybe you haven't. We do have our virgins out here. We do have men and women that are committed to their virginity. And I believe that is great. That is what we all should have been doing. And that is what we should teach our children to do. However, the norm is that most of us have been in relationships, and some of us have been in long-term relationships at least once. And so you want to know, do they know how to have relationships? And if they haven't had a long-term relationships, as I stated in my previous video, see how they have relationships with their friends, their co-workers, and their family. That is going to tell you a lot about them if they have had no long-term relationships. All right, relationships with their ex. You need to see how they talk or even get along. I gave a story about me talking to my husband's ex and how she told me such wonderful things about him, even though she initiated the divorce. All right. So how do they talk about their ex, or do they still get along with their exes? Are they respectful? Things of that nature. Pay attention, because if they are clowning their ex and they just hate their ex guts and they just talk about their ex all the time, something you're not healed, or you need counseling in that area. Because if you are still hurting like that, you need healing, and you don't need to try to get into another relationship. You really don't. And most of us, especially us women, we do that. Before we get good and healed, we hopping into another relationship, and that's just not cool. Gets upset with criticism. So, most men don't like to be criticized. However, a critique from the heart does everyone good. And can they take criticism? Healthy criticism, not nagging, but criticism, healthy criticism. Can they take advice? Can they take it when you point out, maybe you should look at it like this? Can they take it? They make plans without you. Like, they control all the plans. This is a yellow flag, because you may want to do something, but they done already planned it. They done asked you out and planned it, and you never have a say so. and what you guys are going to do, that's a yellow flag. Take caution, bring it up, talk about it, because I'm really talking to people 40 and over, and I'm saying that because we are the generation that act like we done lost all of our home training. We are becoming older, but we're not becoming wiser. I'm just keeping it real, y'all. Okay, I'm 49, so I'm including myself in that. And I had to grow up. We are late bloomers. We are really immature 40 and up group. Okay, I'll be hearing some outrageous stuff happening within our elders. I'm just like, what is going on? And I still respect my elders. I have a food pantry where I give one bag of groceries to our elders every month. I help them. I'm in the community with them. But some of our elders, you know, I'm gonna include myself in there. We we're not thinking right, and we're not leaving a good legacy. Okay, and that's a whole nother topic. Why, as elders, as those of us that are 40 and over, why are we so immature? That has a lot to do with trauma and the family breakdown. All right. Reminds you of your ex. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, right? Depending on you. So if it's a bad thing, you kind of want to caution and take notes. Do they have red flags the same way your first relationship? Because that means one or two things. You not growing and you about to choose the same food that you got the first time, or now you can see the red flags and you need to stop, or you can see the yellow flags and you need to stop, and you just need to talk. Be mature. You're 40 and over. They gonna be mature. And women, I'm gonna tell you something. We teach men how to treat us. So if all of us will get on this train, just like they got that little trending thing on TikTok where all the black women following each other, if we would get on a trend to really teach our men how to treat us, and not from this crazy feminist way, but to remain in our feminine energy, to come from a biblical concept, because the biblical concept is always right, and not to throw the Bible in the men's faces, but just to be that woman, that biblical woman. Just be it. You ain't gotta bash people over the head with your philosophy and how you think about your faith. Just be the light. And honey, the light attracts. The light attracts. Aura is likened to a flower that blooms. And who doesn't love a beautiful flower? And when you see a beautiful flower, you want to smell it, you want to touch it, you want to admire it. That's what it means to be the light. So if all of us was teaching men, as we walked in that light, attracting, walking in our feminine energy, attracting, okay, we will teach men how to treat us. But you know, that's another story. If he's assuming all the time and he doesn't communicate with you to get the full story, he just assuming everything, that's caution. Because I think we all hate that, whether you're a man or woman. You're assuming. Stop assuming. Ask. Okay? Ask. Because I'm going to keep it real. Now, if that's one thing people say about me now, that I've healed and I've stopped being vague and all that little silliness I used to do, I keep it real. But I do it in a very loving way, and I do it from a place of truth. Like, I'm tired of living a lie. I'm tired of lying to you. I'm tired of lying to myself. So I'm just going to keep it real, but in a loving way. And we're going to talk about how to keep it real, or how to be direct, how to be assertive, but remain in your feminine energy. It's a way to do it. It's a way to do it. We just have to relearn it. Okay, so those are some yellow flags, some red flags, but remember, If you keep picking the same person over and over, it's a reflection of you. And you need to pay attention to your red flags and your yellow flags. Also, stop playing the victim. If you are picking bad relationships, you are the common denominator. So get yourself right before you go out here and try to date or court. All right? Because it can't be every man's a dog. Every man a dog, then you picking them. They attracted to you. And what kind of light are you shining for dogs to be attracted to you? I'm just saying, because we say it out our own mouth. Girl, they some dogs. Girl, why they come up and try to talk to me all the time? Girl, they a dog. If they a dog, then you must be the dog whistler, because you whistling everywhere, attracting these dogs. Now, I just got to keep it real, y'all. I just got to keep it real. You are the official dog whistler. Because, honey, if every dog attracting to you, what kind of light you got? And that's something that I had to say to myself. Because the most I say, you like to play victim. You ain't nobody's victim. So I hope this video has helped you, even my younger sisters. You know, please try not to make the same mistakes that we as older women have made. You know, this is why I'm putting that video out for my daughters. I'm even getting my own daughters in line. One of my daughters who's in college, she's getting ready to graduate as a psychiatrist. 2 children. I love it. She is taking mental health to the next level in this family. But anyway, you know, she was telling me how she could move out and she didn't need no help. And she could move her apartment out in one day. And she swears she did it before, but I know she ain't. She moved out of her room in our house to her apartment. But she didn't move a whole apartment by herself. And I just let her go on. And I said, sweetheart, you will not walk in your masculine energy. You don't get the prize because you bragging to me because you think you can move your whole apartment by yourself. I said, you have a father, you have 2 brothers. Honey, you're going to let these men help you move out. You're going to sit your little self down. Now, you can pack up your little stuff, but they are going to move you out. Because you are not going to operate in your masculine energy. And she looked at me and she had nothing else to say. And she went and sat down. And that's exactly what she has been doing. She has been packing up her apartment little by little. And on the first, her dad and her brothers will move her out. We got to stop walking in our masculine energy. It ain't cute to tell everybody, I could do it. I got it. I don't. I can do it, but I don't want to. If I have to do it, I will. Okay? But I don't want to move a whole apartment out. That's tiring. Okay? I'm a small woman. I'm not made for that. I can help. I can do. If I have to, I can be that. But if I don't have to, I'm not. And it's okay, right? So I hope this has helped you. And until the next video, shalom, everyone.